They didn't send her on an errand, they sent her to die. A river no one had ever returned from, a place called Siwerh. But what happened after she survived changed her life forever and destroyed a family. A very long time ago, in a small village, lived a man called Folklore. He had two wives, Abla and Amavi. Both women gave birth around the same time, two baby girls. Abla's daughter was called Fafali and Amavi's daughter was called Esenam. But their peaceful household was not meant to last. One evening, tragedy struck. Folklore and Abla were returning from their farm when the weather suddenly changed. Dark clouds gathered and heavy rain began to fall. Strong winds followed, shaking the trees violently. Without warning, a massive branch from a tree broke loose and fell on them. The impact was fatal. Both of them died instantly. From that moment, Amavi was left alone with the two girls. Instead of compassion, she carried resentment, blaming Fafali for the death of her parents. Years passed. Fafali became known for her gentle nature and kindness. People liked her instantly. She was respectful and calm. Esenam, on the other hand, grew up arrogant and rude, spoiled by her mother's favoritism. One day, as Fafali returned home from the stream carrying a pot of water, she slipped on a stone. The pot fell and broke. Fafali froze. She knew what was coming. When she returned home, Amavi was furious. Without listening, she beat Fafali mercilessly. Then something darker crossed her mind. There was a legend about a mysterious river called Siwerh. It was said that anyone who fetched water from Siwerh would be blessed with good fortune, but no one had ever returned from Siwerh. No one knew where the river was located. It was feared and avoided. Amavi looked at Fafali and gave her a deadly punishment. Go and bring water from the Siwerh River. But deep inside, she knew this wasn't a punishment. It was a plan to get rid of the girl forever. Fafali had no choice. Confused and afraid, she set out on the journey, carrying another water pot on her head. She walked and walked for days. She passed through thick forests, slept under trees, and ate wild fruits. Weeks went by. Still, she kept going. Then one evening, she saw smoke rising in the distance. She felt something. It was hope. She rushed towards it. As she got closer, she found a small hut, standing alone in the middle of tall, silent trees. At the entrance was an old woman, but something about her was not right. Fafali watched as the old woman removed her own head, placed it on her lap and began removing lice from it. The old woman suddenly noticed her. She quickly fixed her head back, adjusted herself and asked calmly, "What did you see me doing?" Fafali, trembling with fear, replied, "Nothing, Grandma. I didn't see anything." The old woman smiled and said, "You are blessed, my child. It shall be well with you." Fafali gathered courage and asked about the Siwerh River. The woman nodded. "Stay here tonight. Tomorrow I will show you the way." Feeling relieved, Fafali accepted the old woman's offer. That night, the old woman prepared a meal of akpele and green leaf soup, serving it in 2 bowls. Then she did something strange. She sneezed into one of the bowls and asked Fafali to choose. Fafali, as respectful as she was, chose the contaminated one. As she was about to eat, the old woman quietly switched the bowls, giving her the safe one. And then she blessed her. When it was night time, the old woman prepared 2 beds, one comfortable and one made of palm branches. She asked Fafali to choose. Fafali chose the simple palm bed. The old woman smiled again and gave the nice bed to Fafali while she laid on the palm bed. Throughout the night, she continued to bless her. The next morning, she gave Fafali an egg and gave instructions. When you reach the river, throw this egg into the water before fetching. Fafali thanked her and followed the directions she gave. Soon she arrived at the Siwerh River. She threw the egg into the water as instructed, then filled her water pot and began the journey back home. This time, the journey felt easier. When she got to her village, something incredible happened. The people gathered immediately. This was the first time anyone had ever returned from Siwerh. A crowd of villagers followed her home. When the pot was placed on the ground, everyone watched in curiosity. Fafali reached to fetch some water, and suddenly, the water turned into gold. She tried again. More gold. Anything the water touched became gold. The crowd watching cheered and shouted in joy. Fafali, being the kind girl that she was, gave some of the gold to the villagers. She also gave some to Amavi and Esenam. But greed and jealousy consumed her stepmother. It wasn't enough. She wanted the same fortune for her own daughter. So she forced Esenam to go on the same journey. Esenam, unlike Fafali, was unwilling and arrogant, but she had no choice. She traveled and eventually found the same old woman. But instead of fear, she showed disrespect. She stared openly, insulted the woman and accused her of being a witch. The old woman asked the same question, "What did you see?" She replied rudely, and from that moment, everything changed. The old woman cursed her. When she sneezed into one bowl at supper time, Esenam insulted her and called her a disgusting old woman. When she was given the bed options, she chose the comfortable one, boasting that her body was too delicate to sleep on those palm branches. Each action deepened the old woman's curses. In the morning, when she was given the egg, Esenam smashed it on the ground. She refused instructions. At the Siwerh River, she fetched the water and returned home proudly. But unlike Fafali, she had not been blessed. Back in the village, Amavi quickly locked the door, eager to see the treasure. They fetched the water, but instead of gold, it turned into dangerous creatures, snakes, scorpions, millipedes, and other deadly creatures. They screamed in panic. The creatures attacked violently. They tried to escape, but the doors were locked. The villagers heard their cries and forced the door open, but it was already too late. Amavi and Esanam were on the floor, dead. Fafali, the kind and humble girl, lived on, blessed by her choices. This story shows us that kindness, humility, and respect bring blessings, but pride, jealousy, and arrogance lead to destruction. Hope you enjoyed this story. Thanks for watching. Kindly like, subscribe, and don't forget to turn on the bell so you never miss what is inside the vault. Until next time, bye.